G'day gamers! Today we're here to talk to you about the state of gaming in Australia and hopefully give you some useful tips that you'll be able to use to improve your online connection and your overall gaming experience in general. Now I'm joined by three other Aussie gamers who have some insight into the state of the current and upcoming infrastructure in Australia and the various factors that come into play when these are applied to online gaming. So why don't you all introduce yourselves and give us a short rundown on your credentials as a gamer, starting with Aussie Gamer, then Steg, and then Ybot.
Too easy. Well, thanks, Bella. Look, thanks for having me on today. Pretty awesome. Well, as you know, I'm a member of the Awesome Clan when it comes to Call of Duty. I also run the Aussie Gamer YouTube site, which is pretty cool, and it's a growing little nice population of people who want to come and check that out. And I'm also doing some freelance stuff for aussiegeek.com.au. So that's pretty much me in a nutshell. Over to you, Steg.
Thanks, mate. Been a computer engineer for a long time. I love gaming. Got a YouTube channel. Try to help people out. What more can I say?
G'day, people. Frag and Tag. I'm Ybot, heavily involved in the Gears of War scene down here in Australia. I'm currently in a clan known as the Filthies. Shout out to my filthy brothers. And been gaming for most of my life, but mainly online for the last 2 or 3 years. I've got my own YouTube channel as well. Ybot Plays Like a Bot.
Frag and Tag.
That's it. Frag and Tag.
Okay, so let's get into it. Azure is a part of the ever-growing Microsoft-managed data centers, which are now in 140 different countries, including Australia. Now, this is backed up by Microsoft's $15 billion investment into global data infrastructure, which focuses on reliability, efficiency, sustainability, and the general belief from consumers that we are going to receive the service they promise. Now, how do you guys feel about the deployment of these servers and how they have affected gaming in Australia?
All right, so I'll kick that one off. I think for me, as a gamer, it's all about making sure we get the best, most stable platform for gaming possible. And I think Azure definitely assists with that. I know from a stability point of view with games like Call of Duty, probably not yet Titanfall, but those sort of things evolving, the cloud, all that sort of stuff has meant that we're not just connecting peer-to-peer anymore. It just does seem like a significantly more stable experience. And as a gamer, that's just a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. Just on that, like, I think having servers that are in the same country is a great thing for one. Like, from a network standpoint, when you have latency over a network, right? So if I'm communicating with you guys, it might be like 30 milliseconds between us. Whereas if I'm communicating via Xbox servers in another country, it might be like 300 milliseconds. So obviously that impact in gaming alone is going to do massive beneficial stuff for us. And I think it already has started doing that. So,
well, I don't know. I haven't seen too much of it, to be honest. I mean, coming to Gears of War, where are the servers? And I'll say even for Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, where are the servers? Because the other night when I was just for overnight at Double XP, I've had the worst connection I've had on AW in ages. And it was just absolutely pitiful. We were 3-barring, 2-barring. There's a lot of red bars on there. The connection was just pathetic. It made me drink. And as for the Gears of War, I was playing on American servers on Friday night. I wanted to come back. Things didn't work out Friday night. I wanted to come back to play Gears of War 3. And I'm playing a bunch of Americans who are really bad at playing Gears of War 3. I'll have to be honest there. Well, the average one was. But the connection was just atrocious. I mean, I was getting Tourette's. And I mean, I was getting serious Tourette's because of the experience. So I just want to know, like, I heard a rumor the other day that a lot of these developers don't use the Azure servers because they don't want to annoy a majority of their customers, i.e. people on the PlayStation Network or other EA players, because they don't want to be seen sided with Microsoft too much. So I'm trying to work how that would be the case. If that's the case, what are they doing? You know, apparently a lot of these people aren't using these servers. Now, I get better connection on Titanfall in Australia, and a lot less people play Titanfall, but I get better connection all the time around because that's on the Azure server. So I don't know what Activision's doing. I don't know what the rest of the companies do, but they need to step up their game a bit as well, I personally think. But the connection's atrocious down here.
See, I think a lot of these companies, like some of them choose to use the Microsoft or the, you know, for PlayStation, they've got their own servers obviously as well, right?
Yeah.
But so some of them will choose the console servers, the actual network servers, whereas some of the other companies like EA and stuff, they'll use their own server. So I think that is why some of them choose not to do that. So for them, they're going, well, let's try and cut costs and deliver it to the countries that need it the most, or that most of our customers are from. So that's why a lot of them are in the US, say, for example. But yeah, it doesn't do much for gamers as a general thing. So yeah, you're quite right there.
What I found interesting is I was playing obviously Advanced Warfare, and I get a pretty good connection on Advanced Warfare, so not too many complaints from me there. But I was playing the indie game iDub the other day, and it's an awesome little game, but I couldn't I mean, you're just almost through the controller in frustration just because the lag in that game for me here was just atrocious because I was obviously connecting to the US and it just was absolutely stuttering all over the place and it ruined the experience, which is a damn shame.
It's pretty bad in Australia when you're lagging in Tetris.
Yeah, there you go.
It actually improves my game out of Tetris, so I won't complain about that. But it's pretty bad if people want to, be streamers and stuff like that. It's pretty bad for them as well. Let's not, discount those players as well because I don't know. I think there's a lot of great Australian gamers down here, particularly in the Call of Duty scene, who are just as good as any of the Americans over there. But because we've got bad connection and they can't stream properly, they're sort of left out of the scene, really, I guess. And it's just one of those things. You just hope they get their servers together. I mean, Activision, of all companies, should have their own servers. EA should update their servers. I heard a rumor the other day, their servers are about 10 or 15 years old. I mean, come on, get with the program. No pun intended. You get with the program, peeps. Update your servers. You want us to buy your games. You want us to play and get all the DLC content. But you're not giving us the ability to do it and use it to the full potential. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's right. With all this money from microtransactions and stuff like that, give us a break, guys. Like back years ago, when even on I was talking to somebody the other day who loves retro gaming, Nintendo, things like that. Now that all takes us back time. But the thing that defines that whole era is that when you bought a game back then, you bought a whole game. Now they break it up. They make as much money as possible. So we like to think as gamers that they could give us servers that they aren't milking it. Hey, these are the servers from 3 years ago in the background. We'd like to think that we're going to get good quality gaming. That's all we want.
Absolutely. And, dedicated servers have been really underrated and they're so important to us. And we really, really, really do need them. And I know that we as a country, as far as our contribution to gaming goes, is quite small. But that has really changed a lot over the last few years. The gaming scene in Australia now is massive. And the amounts of millions of dollars that we actually inject into that economy is something that should be taken notice of. And we should be able to not feel like we're second-class citizens. We should feel like we're as important to the gaming industry as they are to us.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think that's a fair point. We want what we pay for because let's face it, we pay a bloody lot for it. And in terms of our position in the global market, sure, we're a small market. There's no question about that. But we do punch above our weight in terms of what we spend on gaming per capita. And I think that the Microsofts, the EAs, the Sonys, for example, they all recognize that and they want to participate in Australia. But I think some things are just a little bit slow to change, which is a bit unfortunate.
Yeah, I agree. Because I was told 2-3 years ago that EB Games made more profit than Apple in Australia one year. That just gives you a bit of an idea how much money the gaming industry makes for this country. That's not more money, but that was more profit. So when you compare Apple to gaming, there's a lot less people gaming, but we're spending a lot more money on it. But our service and our internet connection is going to make people just go, no, I'm not going to bother. I'm not going to buy an Xbox One or PS4.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Absolutely. So I think that kind of actually leads us into the next subject matter, which is, we know that the NBN is currently being rolled out across the country. Some are lucky enough to already have access to it, while others are going to have to wait another year or two. This means, though, that we now have an even broader mix of multi-technologies in play when we're gaming online, which makes it even harder to be on a level playing field in multiplayer. Now, there are things that you can do to improve your overall experience, though, or at worst, at least be able to look into when you will be able to upgrade to the NBN or when maintenance will be occurring at your exchange to alleviate backhaul and congestion, things like that. Now, to begin with, Steg, why don't you give us a quick walkthrough of what our current infrastructure means to gamers in terms of the copper lines and the various factors that come into play that affect your connection?
Yeah, absolutely. This is something that I'm very passionate about in Australia because I think that it affects a lot of people broadly in Australia. Our copper lines here, I know some areas around here where we've got lines that are 30 plus years old. They're using the old two-pair lines that have just been fading away. They've been around, to give you an idea, before Telstra actually was formed as a company, and it was actually Telecom Australia. So they're very, very old. So our infrastructure our copper lines are so old, it's ridiculous. So it is no surprise to me that in Australia, there's a lot of people who get substandard quality internet. They are able to get that service, which leads me into pair game, where some people, let's say I live on a hill, there's no other houses around me 30 years ago. And then suddenly over time, people have built houses and things like that. Now, rather than them run a whole new line, 30 pairs, 64, 128, however many pairs of cables they're running, rather than go to that expense to do that, what they simply do is they run something called pair gain. Now, that allows them to be able to extend the telephone loops, far away from the exchange and provide more people with internet. Now, you might not get brilliant speeds, but they've fulfilled their duty to say, hey, we can provide you a internet service, even if it is a basic one. It's not ideal for gaming by any means, but, for somebody who just wants to check their email or do simple stuff, browse the web, it might be completely fine. So what they do is they split the actual pairs of wires, and they're able to send those signals down the line at different frequencies, much the same way that carrier frequency of our voice is very, very low, whereas with DSL connections, it is in the higher, like 22,000 hertz range. So they can kind of block it out in frequencies and deliver a service on those same sets of wires. So that's how they've been able to get out of it cheaply for years and years and years. I mean, I think a lot of that is coming to a head because, some of the best things in this country, over time, people deliver amazing games, amazing technologies. Even Wi-Fi was invented here, and it'd be a sad day to actually limit Australian inventors and creators, because of our infrastructure. So that's why, I support the NBN, I support fibre, I support moving into the future. So we can be a greater country and we can have the enjoyment. We are hardworking and we do like to game. So, it's a win-win as far as that goes. But not only that, so we can build better technologies into the future for everyone.
We're all YouTubers here as well. So having the ability to stream is something that is ever increasingly becoming more and more popular. And I'm sure that most of us want to be a part of that. Now, I'm getting less than a megabit per second upload speed, and that's probably one of the things that I'm most looking forward to about an NBN at some point in the future, to have the ability to participate in, that global phenomenon that is Twitch and streaming games and all that sort of stuff sounds absolutely amazing. And I don't know about you guys, but I definitely want to be a part of that at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. See, I think that's the thing with our technology in the world. There are other types of DSL. You've got DSL, which is synchronous DSL. Like, so let's say in America somewhere, somebody's got DSL, it'll be 20 megabits by 20 megabits. Whereas here we've got what's called ADSL, which is asynchronous digital subscriber line. And that means that it's like a 20-to-1 ratio. It's like we're getting 20 down and maybe 1 up if we're lucky, if it's not pouring down rain like it is today. Fingers crossed you don't, have a connection that's like 2 cups and a piece of string.
Yeah.
When it does rain here, that really does affect a lot of people's connections. You can almost put your connection to a halt depending on where you are and what kind of service you're receiving. You literally could end up with no internet for that day if you're really unlucky. So, and we do get a lot of rain. I think a lot of people have this misconception that Australia is just, covered in sand and we're sunburnt. But no, we get a lot of rain, and that really does affect our connections. Now, with what you were saying about pair gains, I was listening to the way you explained it, and because I know about pair gains, made a lot of sense to me. But for people who are listening, just going, yeah, that doesn't, I'm not really quite sure what you're saying still. A really easy way to look at this is if you grab a wire from your headset and you cut the plastic off the end of it and you have all the different wires inside of it. If you think of that as your copper line to your property, and then all those little wires that you can now see exposed are the copper line being split. And now each one of those smaller ones is what actually ends up getting fed to all those different properties. So whereas once you had one big, thick, strong wire running to your property, you now have a much thinner wire, which means that data cannot travel up and down it as quickly.
Yep, that's it. Like 2 cups and a piece of string, just like I was saying.
Yeah.
And I didn't know we invented Wi-Fi over here. That's disgusting to hear. We've invented Wi-Fi. It's available everywhere in most other countries, but here it's still not 100% in most places.
Yeah, well, there's
strange, or upsetting.
Yeah, that's right, mate. A lot of these things like CSIRO and stuff, there's been a lot of technologies that come out of this country, and it is disappointing and sad to think that is hindered by being held back by only the speed that we can work at. It's like, and our connections here, horrible, but, like the asynchronous part of ADSL, right? That's like saying our ears can work at 200 kilometers an hour, but our mouth can only work at 10. So we really can't. I think the reason that they've probably done that in Australia is probably because they don't want us uploading a lot of material. The way that they see us as this convict country that are just going to sit there and pirate, download and upload stuff. But the realism of that is the reason that a lot of that stuff occurs in Australia, I feel, this is probably a whole nother podcast highly, but I think it's because, we have a thirst for media, and a lot of this is going on at the moment with Netflix versus Foxtel argument. It's a monopoly of media, and that's what they're trying to do. It's the same reason that people sit there and go, well, I want to watch Game of Thrones, and yet it's only available in the US, or I want to watch this, and it's only available in the US, or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So what do? If nobody can provide that to them at a decent price, then we're going to do whatever it takes to go and watch it. So as a country, we love our entertainment.
Like that example exactly, like with Game of Thrones or The Walking Dead or whatever, with how much social media is in our lives, like literally in our lives pretty much every single day from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to sleep for some of us. If you don't watch that episode within the next 24 to 48 hours, someone's going to spoil it for you on Facebook or Twitter or wherever. Like someone's going to ruin it for you.
Yeah, I know. I like doing that too. Sorry. I just think it's, they don't, like you said, Steve, it seems like they just want us to download rather than upload. And I totally agree with that. We just want to be sponges, not, providers. That's how they do it.
That's it. It's like, why should we be forced to sit there and it's like, oh no, we must only buy and pay full price because we're Australian. We must only buy from other countries. Why can't we create? Why can't we create all the things that everybody else is allowed to do? Why can't we upload and have our own YouTube channels and stream gaming live? Why can't we do that? See, that's the thing. We're really falling behind. I think we fall something like 46th in the world. As far as our internet ranking, that slipped like 3 positions from the last quarter. That was taken from the last quarter of 2014, I think it was. 46th, I think it was.
You're kidding. Do it down that low, mate.
Yeah.
I think in Singapore, gigabit connections everywhere, I'm pretty sure, somebody was saying. I was like, wow, that's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not like we don't have the intellectual minds here to be able to put to creating a better solution for that. I mean, you were saying before about Wi-Fi being created here. So some of the biggest subway systems in America have now got Wi-Fi in their subways so that you can actually look on your social media or watch YouTube videos, send messages, all that kind of stuff, and primarily, one of the major concerns there was also for emergency issues, so that there is a data connection down there that people can communicate if train gets stopped or something happens. But guess who they got to go over there and build that, to put that solution into place, because they didn't have the creative minds that had a grasp enough on how that technology works to be able to do it themselves.
No way.
They got an Australian company. I'm not kidding. Like they're moving their way through Europe at the moment. I went to a conference not long back where the mastermind behind all of it walked us through exactly the processes that they went to put that in place. It's an amazing feat. And it's an Australian company that did that. So anybody in America that, is using subways, next time you get into the subway and you've got Wi-Fi, just remember.
It's unbelievable. It just goes to show how out of touch our politicians are in this bloody country. Both sides. They're just pathetic. Sorry, I don't want to get political, but what a joke. What an absolute joke they are.
Look, and it's just too short-sighted. Because what is it, Steg? You'll be able to correct me here, I'm sure, but don't internet speeds double every X amount of time? Like, it's only a short amount of time since we were going back to dial-up, and now we're talking about needing speeds of up to 100 megabits per second. So it's just technology evolves so quickly, and if we're not on that train, then we're going to get left behind, clearly.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the gaming industry itself, like the gaming consoles and platforms and stuff like that, they go through like a 5-year cycle, basically. There's a 5-year cycle where you can expect the technologies available to be being utilized and upgraded. And if our internet and our infrastructure isn't keeping up with the way that the gaming world is evolving as well, then, like you said, we're getting left behind.
Yeah. Look, and in this world, we're all connected. I know you mentioned social media before, but we want to have the same access and the same opportunities as anyone else in the world. And it's not just things like internet speeds, but, I mean, Sony, for example, ran a flash sale. I think they're running it right now over this weekend. It's only available in the US. And because of things like social media, we all find out about it, and we all want to participate in it. So it's just, yes, we're on an island a long way away from the rest of the planet, but it's about being connected to that social village of other gamers and other consumers.
Yeah, the same thing happened with the Black Friday sales. Like everyone's like, "Oh my God, I can get Titanfall and the DLC and all of this for like $10." I'm like, "That's great. We can't. Why
Yeah.
can't we? It's digital, so why can't we? It's not like we have to walk into a store like they had to ship it over to us. It's digital, so why don't we have access to it as well?"
Exactly right.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I don't want. It's making me angry just hearing all this because it just goes to show how backwards we are in many ways. It's because of the people got in power. That's how I view it.
I mean, we do need to have a look at the fact that we have come ahead leaps and bounds, even in just the last 5 years. Our progress has been massive. There are major, amazing things going on in this country. We have taken a big step forward, but unfortunately, it took too long for it to be identified that there was that need for us to improve our infrastructure, to get on track with the rest of the world and be competitive in this regard. And so now we're playing catch up, and we can't catch up quickly enough.
Well, here's the thing too. When I was a kid, I was going to school, 97, 99, around that time, 56K was great.
I would have thought you were going to say the 60s. Sorry.
No, mate, it was not. Mate, that was like a 1200 baud modem or something back in those days. That literally was 2 cups and a piece of string.
Yeah.
But yeah, back when I was a kid, we had like 56K modems and stuff, right? Now, look where we've come from. It's like, wow, how much has technology evolved? Facebook didn't exist then. All these things are coming forward. And what have we got for our internet? An average of about 6.8 megabits a second.
Yeah.
That's the average. Where's everyone else at? About a gigabits. That's 1,000 megabits a second. So take that into comparison. 1,000 megabits or 6 megabits. That's where we're at.
Yeah, I know. It's like, everybody else has done very well. We've all moved forward, but our government, typical as always, is too busy arguing amongst themselves and jumping on the bandwagon and going with it, and wonder why other countries don't take it so seriously. The internet is needed for business and information. The only companies I do realise that have the optimal, great internet connection in this country are the banks. So they ain't giving two hoots where the government goes either way, but the banks are fine. But the rest of our government are like, oh no, it's all good. We're all still fine. We'll go at our leisurely pace. I mean, give it the program, man. They're just so pathetic. And we vote for these gherkins, I swear. Oh, man, they're inbred and stupid. I'm going to say that.
Deep breath, Toby. Deep breath.
In no other country of the world, like, you ever hook up with some other woman, and then you sit there and you're halfway through it, and then you just stop, and she goes, "What are you doing?" You go, "I've seen this on Pornhub. It's called buffering."
Okay.
That is probably the worst joke I've ever heard from you. And I've had some crackers from you, but that takes it.
Don't edit that out. That's hilarious. That's a good joke.
It is, right? It's buffering. Oh, Jesus. Anyway.
So, when you think about it, like, started in 1961 with a game called, I believe, Star Wars, not Pong, like most people think, but Base Wars. And, it took I think it was like a year before anybody would even have a look at that game. And then another year later, Pong came out. And then, several years after that, we started to see, Ataris and NES and that kind of stuff come into the market. But we didn't actually, adopt that as a global thing for many, many, many years after that. I mean, for the first 10 or 15 years, gaming was basically just America, and then it moved into Japan and started to expand out a bit further. So now we're down to under 30 years, and then from there it took a long time for them to actually get consoles into homes. So about 10 years after that, it really started to take on as something that everybody wanted to be able to have in their home. They wanted to be able to enjoy it. They didn't want to have to just go to an arcade. And it took a lot of years for that to happen because the concept of gaming in homes rose and then died and then rose again and then died again and then came back again. So now we're looking at about maybe only 20 years where gaming has been something that's major in most countries, that pretty much most households have some kind of gaming system available to them. This is around about the time where we started to actually really think about our digital footprint. So we've had like 20 years to get on board, 20 years to get on board. It's taken us a long time. And finally, we're starting to catch up, but we took too long, and we're two steps forward, one step back.
Something that really spun me out the other day, I actually was reading, when I was first reading about DirectX 12, I'm like, it has been 20 years since that was developed. 20 years of DirectX. Now, that's pretty amazing. 20 years on a gaming graphics engine is phenomenal.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know
20
about you
years.
guys, but I started gaming back on the Commodore 64, and that was shit almost that many years ago. You know, like,
Yeah,
it's a
didn't
long
they come over?
time.
Didn't they come over at Captain Cook?
Not quite. No.
I remember my first like real hardcore gaming experience, and I say the term hardcore pretty loosely because I was only like 10 or something. But I mean, it was playing a game called Alex the Kid on the Sega Master
Oh,
System.
yeah.
So,
Oh,
and if you look at how games or gaming has evolved from that point to where we are, I mean, then I can say it was clearly a game, but now it's an art form. It's so much more. It's entertainment. I spend more of my time gaming than I do watching TV. In fact, I don't even know if I
Yeah.
watch free-to-air TV anymore. I can't
I
remember the last
don't
time I
watch
sat
TV
down
either.
and exactly.
It's
So
the
I
monitor for my
I can't
Xbox,
stand
and occasionally I watch
TV.
DVDs on. I don't watch TV.
Exactly. And I think that the people who look after all of our infrastructure in in this country must realize that we've evolved as a population as well, and we're looking for these other mediums to fulfill those entertainment needs, not just give us the same stuff we've been using for the last 20, 30, 40 years, because it's not good enough anymore.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've got to realise that Channel 10 was a pretty major network over here in Australia, and it's now suffering and their biggest complaint was, well, now most TVs connect to the internet and people just watch YouTube.
Yeah.
Mm.
I spend
You know,
more time.
we're heavily downloading.
That's right. That's the thing, you know. A lot of these companies need to realise that now. I mean, imagine that the NBN was available everywhere. We could then leap forward into an age where we can watch IPTV. Everything is delivered over data. You can sit there and go, hey, guess what? You know what? I want to sit down and watch like 3 seasons or 4 seasons of Spartacus. And you can, and you don't have to have ads. Whatever it is that you want to watch, you can watch. And that is really what IPTV is going to do. It's like Netflix. You could sit there and go, hey, you know what? I want to sit down and watch the whole lot of this. And you can. And some people are like that because you might be busy. Like I'm an extremely busy guy too, as Bella is. You know, she's very busy as well. And if you don't get time to sit there and watch, you know, stuff, everyone's lives get really busy. And when you get, you know, that rare occasion where you can sit down and watch something, you might want to watch what your favourite series is. And that's what IPTV is going to be able to do. It really is putting an end to the age of like free to air over the radio waves kind of thing, you know, like you're not, you know, in that era anymore. We now move forward to digital and data.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much everything that I do, it's all online. Like from the moment I wake up in the morning, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on my YouTube. I get on my PC before I go to work, and then I go to work, and I'm on my PC, which is connected online, on which I use, the interweb nonstop all day long, and then I come home and straight back onto the PC on my phone, got my tablet going sometimes. The amount of data that I use for an individual is ridiculous. And my entire life, I mean, it does sound bad, but like my entire life does revolve around me being able to have a good connection regardless of what device I'm on and regardless of where I am because of the nature of the work that I do. So I'll say that again, because of the nature of the work that I do. Therefore, that makes that imperative to me. So, we
Absolutely. And I
really
think
do need a bit of
yeah,
service.
absolutely. I think the same is true with gaming too, because, you know, sometimes you don't necessarily have hours and hours to game. Sometimes you've only got an hour or 2 hours. And when you do jump on, you want to make sure you're going to get the best experience possible. And whether that's leveraging the future possibilities of the NBN or leveraging what Microsoft are doing with Azure, whatever the case may be, you just want to make sure you've got the best experience. So when you jump on, you can game. You don't have to worry about the technology or lag or any of the other crap in the background. It's just a great experience.
Yeah.
That's the thing, you know, gaming, I think maybe our government looks at it like it's only for leisure. But when you really look at things carefully, media and creation has been massive for many, many years. Hollywood is big, you know, game studios are big. You know, why can't those sorts of things, why can't we have big companies like EA,
Yeah.
where you've got great minds that can do great things? You know, like I said, Australia is one of those countries where we've got some of the greatest minds in the world. You know,
Yeah.
we've created some of the greatest things. So yeah, it's a shame to be able to hinder that progress, you know.
Steg, I don't even think the government sees gaming as for leisure. I still think they're stuck in the gaming is for children era, which is just completely wrong. I mean,
Yeah, well,
yeah,
that's why they took the money out of the budget for development here, because they
absolutely.
don't see it as being important. They don't see that as being a viable addition to the budget and the country's growth. You know, the potential that we have here. We have the AIE, which is, you know, if you live here and you want to go and learn how to develop games, that's where you go. And those are really quite tiny, but they are working on things like they're making contributions to games like Borderlands. These aren't small feats. These are big things. But, you know, who's going to come and set up shop here? Like, really, who's going to, with the technological barriers that we have at the moment, what company is going to come and set up shop here so that they can enable people like those who go to places like AIE to be able to develop their skills as an actual genuine developer, you know, to enable them to be able to grow in their careers? Like, where do they have to go if they want to be able to be successful in this industry? Out of this country.
Yeah, that's right. So that's
Exactly.
the thing.
Taking our creative minds out of this country.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people move to this country because it is a great country and it's a great place to live. I wouldn't live anywhere else in the world. Now, you look at it, and it's like you said before, Aussie Gamer. You know, they do look at it like, you know, we're children or something like that. Now, if that's said, and there's no money in gaming, which is a complete lie, you look at Grand Theft Auto, right? Grand Theft Auto 5, when it launched. Now, imagine that company is born and bred here. It made $1 billion, right, in the first week.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
what kind of injection would that make for our economy? They look at it as a hindrance, you know, and I'm like, well, and even people like, you know, some of the bigger YouTubers we know, they have a full-time job in this now. So it's not something that is just, you know, play money. This stuff is making real money.
If
But
I
not only
use,
that, the industry can create jobs, Steve, and this is what's happening. They're not taking it seriously, and they're not looking at the fact that it can create jobs. You know, and EB Games is another example I'll give you. I'm not the biggest fan of them, but they do employ people. They keep the economy going. They keep students be able to go work and study at the same time. They keep on, our government keeps on going the way it is. Goodbye EB Games. They're going to go in the future. And eventually what's going to happen is Microsoft and Sony, you're going to wake and buy games as DLC, and only America and Japan makes money, and Australia misses out. And our government is still here twiddling their bloody thumbs and not having a clue why this happened. It's like, duh, you know, like, wake up to themselves.
Exactly.
Got Malcolm Turnbull in play at the moment because he is a very technologically minded man, and he sees past what we currently have available to us, and he's looking outside of Australia he's looking to other leaders in their fields who are doing great things, that are evolving their current technologies, that are taking that next step forward and pushing the bar a little bit further, and having a look at what they do and thinking about how can we apply that? How can we make it better here? How can we use what other people are doing that they've already tested it, they've already put it out there, it's working, it's great. Let's work out how we can do that too. So Malcolm Turnbull, as far as I'm concerned, without us getting too much into the side of politics, I think that he is going to be very, very beneficial to us gamers, or to anybody who relies heavily on data for the, you know, work, or even just for your personal enjoyment at home of watching your favorite shows at your own convenience. I think that he is going to be where our real change starts.
Look, and things are evolving, right? Things are definitely evolving over time, because it was only back in 2013 we didn't even have an R18 rating for games. So games like Grand Theft Auto 3 were being refused classification because of violence. Now that's evolved and that's changed, and we do have an R18 game, but I mean, things are still a little bit conservative in this country. I mean, I think we really refuse classification, so you know, we're still a little bit prudish when it comes to approval of some games. But things are evolving, because you know, Grand Theft Auto 5, it's approved for classification. It's an R18 game, but then we've got a company like Target then taking a social conscience decision to pull that off the shelf. So
wasn't that a shitstorm?
Oh,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think the best one ever I heard was, remember Alien vs Predator, when that first came out by Sega Games, and our ratings board said, well, you can take some of the gore out and it'll be fine. And Sega replied to them saying, no, we're not doing that, because, and they also sent a letter to Gamers of Australia saying, your government doesn't support your field or your industry by giving you an R18 rating. We're not changing the game. So everybody bought it online for the PS3 from Amazon and got it about $50 cheaper. And that's when EB Games started to lose money because our government knocked back on the rating system and people realised they could buy games by the PS3, which weren't region locked, cheaper in America. And so they were doing that. And that's like, good on you, government, good on you, ratings board.
Absolutely.
Well, look at the latest Mortal Kombat. I didn't buy it at EB Games. I couldn't get it at EB Games. I had to get it online.
Exactly, same.
And the hypocrisy with that Alien versus Predator example too, Wybot, is that they eventually approved it and gave it an MA rating, but the horse had already bolted. The marketer had already purchased it from other places on the planet.
Exactly, and Sega were good about it because Sega made the email public, pretty much saying your government's really got to pick up its game. No pun intended. But it's true. It just said, look at your ratings board, how pathetic it is. I'm sorry, but and this is what going back on the whole bandwagon about Targets and Kmart. That was it was a bit of a great win for these little small lobby groups, but at the end of the day, you're buying clothes which are made by kids in a sweatshop, so you really missed the boat on that one as well. And GTA is an easy one to pick on. I mean, it's just everybody when they think of gaming, they just think of GTA. That's the first thing they say is Grand Theft Auto, and all games are like that. You feel like slapping people. I really do.
Yeah.
But
See,
then
that's
the nanas will go pick up 50 Shades of Grey in Target, which is the hypocrisy of it all.
Exactly, which is.
See, that's the thing with with the like you were saying there before, they are like they're trying to hold back these things because they don't fit our rating system and all that kind of stuff. Now it comes back to we'll do whatever the hell we have to do to get what media we love, right, by whatever means necessary. Now, if our government is so short-sighted that they're going to sit there and let those dollars slip out of our country and not keep them in it, then, you've got to ask yourself the question. Now, when you were talking about Malcolm Turnbull before, this guy is pretty smart. He was actually the founder and creator of Aussiemail. So, he was there right in the beginning and creation of, of Internet Australia. So if he's there in the beginning, sure enough, he's got to be able to see past, we've got our budget and all that sort of stuff, and he's obviously, restricted as far as all that stuff goes by, it's not just his call on this. But I'm sure he would love to see things advance to the point where people could jump on and look at IPTV and watch the shows that they want or get the games that they want, and the money is kept here in the country, like it's supporting what we do. Now, I know that we've got Foxtel and a bunch of other companies coming together at the moment trying to create, I can't remember what the service is called, Primus or something like that, I think it is. And they're trying to deliver all our local kind of shows and stuff over IPTV, catch-up TV sort of stuff. So I think as we get busier and busier and busier in our careers and, for people that go to school or study or anything like that, when you do have time, the advantage is that you can come back and you can watch the stuff or play the stuff that you want to play when you have time.
And they also wonder why we're the heaviest pirating country per capita at the moment for movies and TVs. They wonder why that happens as well, like for Game of Thrones. We're the heaviest pirated because we will find a way around it. So I think it just seems to be, people want to get the technology up there and running, but the rest of the government are holding us all back really by being conservative, pretty much.
Exactly. We're not a stupid country. Like we are quite intelligent. We know how to use the internet. We know how to use Google. We've heard of a thing called torrents. We're not going to just sit back and go, you don't want us to have it. Oh, okay. Well, you know what? If you say so, Mr. Government, then I guess I'll wait. Maybe I might, I don't know, turn off all my social medias for the next couple of months just so no one ruins the entire series for me. But yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. I'm fine with that. No, we're going to go and find a way to download it. We're going to go and find a way that we can interact with people online. We're going to find a way that we can see the shows that we want to see before they get ruined for us, that we can access the content that we need. Just because something is only aired in America, we have a lot of people here in Australia that their bread and butter is media. So being able to report on things, being able to do reviews on things, that is how they make their living. They have to access that stuff to be able to do that.
Well, that's it. And I totally agree. And I think our government forget they're here for us and we're not here for them. That's why I think they've got all mixed up, to be honest.
That's exactly right.
And it's not true. It's the power of the people, and it's always been the way. I mean, when I went to France, I couldn't believe how much say the people had, and we should have the same here because you just feel that we're there for their entertainment and they're not here for us, and they wonder why things aren't working out because neither two of the major parties really are in touch or listen to the people.
But the thing is, we do have to say. We do have to say, but what we don't do is we don't look into it. We don't research it. We just rock up on election day and tick a fucking box. We don't actually do any research into our politician's background, into whether this person actually stands for the things that are important to me. What is his history? Has he come through on things he's promised before? Is he the kind of person that's going to deliver the things that he says he's going to deliver if I vote him into parliament? And people need to actually start doing their fucking research. If you want to change in this country, if you want a positive change in this country, then take 10 minutes out of your day before you go and vote. Have a think about what's important to you. Is data important to you? Is your broadband important to you? Then focus your vote towards something that will enable that. Like, obviously, don't just prioritize that, but, focus the way that you structure people from the lowest level of politics into the highest level of politics into the positions that they're in so that it benefits you and the society as a whole.
Yeah, people, that's the thing. I totally agree with that. People sit there and they do absolutely no research at all, and voting's like a chore for them, whereas it is a bloody given right given by the fathers that stood before us and fought in the wars and fought for our flag and our rights. Now, a lot of the people just sit there and go, I've got to go and vote, and I think that's half the problem. People need to ask themselves, who do you want to stand for you? I'm sure this is a whole nother podcast we can do another time maybe, but once we get into this sort of stuff, it does cross over into the boundaries of all things, and especially gaming, But yeah,
we can't complain about what we're being delivered. We can't complain about the policies that have been put into place, about the taxes that we're being charged, about the lack of broadband availability, all that kind of stuff. We can't complain about that if we voted the people into power to begin with. Now, not everybody voted for everyone that's in power. I understand that. But if we all just take a little bit more responsibility about how we vote and why we vote the way we vote, then we really can make a change to enable our online experience to be better. And I know that people are listening to me and go, wow, voting, me going and voting is really going to improve my online gaming experience. It can, though, not overnight, not over one election, but if we focus on making sure that our politicians know this is not good enough, this is what I want. I'm not going to put up with this any longer, and unless you promise me that you're going to provide a better service and that you're going to consistently work towards bringing it to me, then I'm not going to vote for you.
Yeah, that's the thing. People sit there and they don't put any thought in it. They just go, I'll rock up and just vote for somebody and then piss and moan about it for the next 4 years. It's like, it's stupid.
The moment, though, is like Malcolm Turnbull is the only politician at the moment that is eligible to make a difference and make decisions. But all you hear from our media is he's going to take Tony Abbott's job, and that's all. He's not taken seriously from that point on. That's another big issue in itself.
Yeah, once again, our media only do it for the sake of making money because that's, it's a bit like the siege in Sydney, mate. Like, they knew it was going to make money, so they broadcast it 24/7. How many people tuned in? Media is all about money. And if you look at how television media works, why can't they do the same for gaming and data or internet type of media? Because that is where we're at now.
Yeah, and perhaps there may not be a major injection of money coming from what we actually generate here in the country, but that's because our ability to be able to do so is so limited. Give us bigger abilities, give us more variety, give us more options. And I guarantee you, like, you will watch the industry here in Australia will boom. It will go ballistic if our options are just widened up a little bit further, because people are sitting here, they're waiting for that opportunity to take it to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I suppose we're going to try to make our way to the next topic, but I guess the moral of the story is don't vote for a goat and then whinge about it for the next 4 years. Think about what you're voting for.
Yeah. So anyway, like, moving along, as we were saying before, there are places that you can go and check when the NBN will be available for you and when maintenance is scheduled to take place at your exchange. So we'll make sure that we leave links to all of that in the description below. So do go check it out, because you will be amazed at what actually may be happening at your exchange where you get your data from. and how simple little things that you can do at home can also help to improve the connection that you're doing. Like, so for example, clearing the cache on your console. When's the last time you all cleared the cache on your console?
Every day I do it.
I do
Boy.
it
I think-
probably every couple of days, maybe.
I think
Yeah.
I don't do it deliberately, but I certainly feel that I have to do it accidentally, I guess you could say. I mean, I feel I'm hard resetting the Xbox One, and to a lesser extent the PlayStation 4, probably more so this generation than at any stage in the last one. So I thought that's sort of
Absolutely.
an interesting phenomenon that's just unfolding.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I barely ever had to, maybe once every couple of months, I had to hard reset my 360. And if even that, probably even a bigger fan. Whereas with my Xbox One, like, I've had days where I've had to hard reset it twice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
I'm sorry guys, I can't hold it together. He's like, he's accidentally cleared his case. It's like, sorry guys, I accidentally power cycled my modem.
Well, I'm not doing it because I want to do it. I'm doing it because I have to do it because if I don't, it just doesn't bloody work.
That's
Yeah,
true.
and that's the other thing. A lot of people that, they say, oh, have you power cycled your modem lately? And they're like, oh yeah, I did. And they're like, oh gosh, I don't know what your problem could be then. But what they've done is they haven't actually power cycled their modem. They've turned it off and they've turned it straight back on again.
Yeah, that's right. All electronic devices, anything that has like capacitors and stuff on the board, they're like imagine they're like a little, water tank. Instead of storing water, they store energy. So obviously, if you turn it off, it still has power in it. So you have to leave it, for 30 seconds to 2 minutes to let it drain out, then power it back up again.
Yeah, so if you guys are having constant connection issues, maybe one thing that you really should try, if you never realized that you weren't actually power cycling your modem, that you were literally just turning it off and on, try power cycle. Not now, because you're listening to this podcast, but after the podcast, when you've commented about how amazing you think we are and how grateful you are for the information we've given you, go and power cycle your modem and see whether that does help you with some of the issues that you're having. I mean, I know that even on the Xbox One, when you're trying to join parties with people, you can join with 3 or 4 other people, and there's just one person that can't join. And you can switch it around and have different people leaving that party, and they can get in with them. But there's that one incompatible block that just can't fit into place no matter what you do. You send that person off to do a power cycle on their modem and their Xbox One. They come back, they can get in the party straight away.
Yeah.
Well, that's
amazing
right.
how much that can fix.
That sort of leads into network address NAT, right? So a lot of people, network address translation is what it is, and what that basically is, it allows a single device like your router, right, to act as an agent between like the internet, which is a public network, and a local like private network device. Like this means that like a single internet IP can represent an entire group of computers or devices inside your network. So that's what network address translation does. It sits there and forwards ports through your router's inbuilt firewall, which stops hackers, obviously, on your computer, and sits there and allows traffic in and out. So that's where a lot of people, have issues as far as partying up or finding lobbies and things like that. Open that, having that set up correctly or having your ports forwarded correctly, and not just for like, hey, these are the sets of ports that I need for Xbox Live or PlayStation Network. You're going to have those ports, but some other games will require additional ports to be set up. So as gamers, to get a good experience, I feel that, it's necessary to at least have a basic knowledge on how to set up port forwarding so you can have the best experience in all the games that you love.
Absolutely, and it does seem like a really daunting process too. I know the very first time that I ever had to go through port forwarding, I did it on my own. I Googled it. I watched a video on YouTube. It seemed quite daunting. I was actually quite worried about doing it because I didn't want to stuff up my router, and I didn't really understand exactly what the process that I was going to go through was actually going to do. But then after I did it, I was like, no, that's nothing. It's so easy. So what we will do is we will put in the description below a website where you can actually go and type in your modem model and make, and that will give you the instructions that you need to follow through on your modem's dashboard. So that's, turn on your PC. It'll tell you how to do it all. That will then enable you to go and initiate this port forwarding. Now, I know that I've got the ports that you need for various Call of Duties and for Titanfall. So I'll pop the numbers of those codes, of those ports into the description below as well. But, Google is your friend, people. It really is. Uncle Google is there to help you. Don't be afraid to use him. Type something in it. Ask him a question. He'll give you a goddamn answer.
Or Billy can help you.
I'm pretty sure Google's not an uncle, it's an auntie, because if it was a man, it wouldn't be suggesting things before I finish typing.
We're trying to get.
I'm just messing with you. No, I think portforward.com is one site that I've suggested for some people to go to, and it does list out, ports for a lot of games and ports for a specific, and it actually shows you how to go into your router for a lot of common brands of models of routers. So we'll put that in the description anyway, and you can go check it out.
Absolutely, and it really can assist you with opening up your NAT type. And for those who think that their NAT type means if you jump online and you've got a moderate, you're like, oh God, that means I'm going to lag today. Your NAT type has nothing to do with your lag. It has nothing to do with your packet data. It has nothing to do with that. What it has to do with is your ability to be able to connect to parties and to matchmate. So if you're moderate, that's not obviously the most ideal, but I game on Advanced Warfare. Moderate NAT type can connect with everyone. Got no problems. Having a moderate NAT type has not affected me from being able to game at all. Sometimes it affects Aussie Gamer from being able to enter my parties.
Until I accidentally power cycle.
Yeah, he accidentally power cycles. Bob's your uncle.
Well, I think as gamers, I think we all just want a simple and easy experience, because we don't necessarily feel that we need an IT degree, particularly to run a console game. So that's why we get consoles, simply because they're easy to use. You plug them in and play. So it's frustrating when it doesn't actually go to plan sometimes. And you really need to, I guess, have a greater understanding of some of these other elements that aren't necessarily part of the console. So you blame the console if you have a strict NAT type, for example. But often, like you guys just said, it's got nothing to do with the console modem or some other factor.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
That's right. See, I think that's the thing, like before I had consoles, I was a PC gamer. So I'd obviously been a computer engineer. Things like that are easy, but when you're a console gamer, a lot of these people don't want to have to know the technical stuff. It's daunting, it's boring, it's whatever, you don't want to have to do it. Now, if you can find some way to make that very, very simple and make it enjoyable, that's what people want. Now, on a console, realistically, they have certain amount of ports. They're basically our next-gen consoles now are basically just like a PC. They're based on x86 architecture, just like a PC. So a lot of the ways that the networking works is exactly that, just like a PC. So having that knowledge, and making it simple, so it's not so daunting. When you first look at it and you go, oh man, I don't know how to set this up, it's confusing. Once you understand it, you'll have no problem in future. You just go, sweet, no worries, I can get back into my router again. I can go check this out, set up my ports, set it all up so it's sweet. But you're quite right, Bella, when you say it doesn't really have anything to do with lagging. Lag, if for the people who want to know, what causes that sort of stuff? A bunch of things can happen. You can have packet loss issues. That means that when packets are sent or received from your connection, it's actually starting to drop packets. So to be like me talking and then missing a couple words, and you sort of don't get the full message. And that's what happens when you're playing games. That's when you start rubber banding and lagging and things like that. Not only that, like with our telephone lines in Australia, anyone who's got copper lines here, which is probably the majority of people, when the ADSL pits, along the streets fill up with water when it rains, it can also impact your gaming. So it may not be anything to do with your stuff. If the weather is an issue, then it can also do that as well. I know that's definitely happened for me.
Yeah. I guess at the end of the day, one of the most frustrating things for a gamer can be lag, can be a bad ping. I know when I met Toby, we actually became friends because he had a very, very weak ping.
That sounds wrong. My ping was not performing. It was very embarrassing.
I
was trying to talk about my ping, and Bella, help me with my ping. she changed it into a ping. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Yeah, we got your ping performing again, and you were able to enjoy Titanfall once again, whereas before it was virtually unplayable for you. But a little bit of time on the phone, me trying to visualize whatever the hell it was you were looking on your 1980s laptop that kept crashing. It was a bit of a process, but it was achievable.
It was.
His ping was way too high. It was basically unresponsive, and now it's like lightning.
That was poor Bella. It was probably 4 hours on the phone, and I was like, she goes, "You know how to port forward your router?" I was like, "Oh, sorry, man. I've only just met you. I don't want to come forward this way. I at least want to meet you in public before you start talking to me in that manner." And she just, you can imagine, I'm trying to be gentle about it. Here, I thought she's just flirting with me, and really,
She's
she
just
was
trying to
trying to do is help me. Yeah, she's trying to help me.
Just trying to help you fix your ping. Like he's throwing all these words around. He's like, elevate my what to where with who? What? Come on.
How much is this phone call going to cost me? That's what I started asking.
Oh God. But yeah, in the end, what was a game that Toby loved that effectively had become unplayable for him, fixed his ping, fixed it, like really fixed it. He has better ping than I do on Titanfall now, which really annoys me because I freaking fixed it. So
there you go. Yeah, but and if I didn't have a good ping, I wouldn't be able to join the awesome clan, which is the Pelpies. That's the truth, because that's the thing, and that's what it's all about. You want a good ping, good connection, so you can play with your mates and have a lot of fun.
that's
Get
right.
your ping on, people.
You can ping on with your mates, and there's nothing better than pinging on with your mates.
Oh no. So conclusion. I think that we've given everyone who's actually tuned in to listen to us lunatics for the last hour enough to think about as far as ways that they could potentially improve their connection and improve their overall online gaming experience, or perhaps things that they forgot about that they could maybe suggest to their friends that they could go and do to try and improve their connection. Now, if there are other little things that you're struggling with, that questions that you may have had that we haven't actually broached today, please put them in the comments below. We'll make sure we go back through them on a regular basis, and we'll do what we can to help you improve your connection, because we need to help each other. We're fellow countrymen. We need to help each other out because no one else is going to help us. So let's support each other. Let's help each other, and let's create a happier, lag-free, rage-free online gaming community.
Yeah, I agree. I think, look, we're all pretty open and connectable as well. So, approach us on Twitter, connect with us on Facebook, whatever. Just if you've got a question, don't be afraid to ask.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
we want to try and help you.
On Twitter, not me, because no, go Dick.
I was going to say we're all here to try and point you in the right direction. So that's the thing. We all know that our internet connections here in Australia aren't ideal at times. I mean, if this podcast starts buffering, it's not our fault. It's probably rain or something not quite going on right. But we'll try and help you in any way we can.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. We'll help you. If not, we'll just give you Bella's phone number. She can help you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm available for the free, for the whole 25 minutes that I have spared myself each day, and my hourly rates range between $150 to $175, depending on whether you're actually in Australia or we're talking about US conversion. So please keep that in mind when attempting to hire my services. So on that note, I think we'll sign out now.